Hey, what's going on, GameLeapers? This is Iggs, and in today's upload, we're going to be talking about the 12-17 tier list we have prepared for you guys, and there are going to be a lot of changes in 12-17, so to know who the most broken champions are going to be, who the most low-key broken are going to be, who the worst champions are going to be, and who's going to be rise tier, make sure you stick around for the whole video.
But just before we do get into the video, one thing you guys have to do before you get into your next game is to download the Porofessor app linked in the description, because it allows you to quickly import the best room page used from the best players in the world on the champion you're picking. You don't have to make the room page, just one click of a button and bang, you're ready to go. But that's not all, because the app also allows you to scout your opponents, and the app will give you their stats, how well they play their champion, so you can know more about your opponent than they know about themselves. And the app also gives you an in-game overlay, so you can compare your CS and your kill participation to your rank or even challenger players like Faker. And there's a reason why 3 million people have downloaded this free application, guys. It's because it works. So get around it in Season 12. Those links are in the description.
Tier list. Now we'll start by talking about the top lane tier list, and for top lane in 12-17, not much is changing in terms of items or in terms of runes, so that aspect of the game isn't going to change. And for champions like Aatrox and Darius, they're still going to be in the most broken, because both of these champions, they are not getting nerfed, and their items will remain untouched. But for champions like Camille and Renekton, well, both of these champions are actually getting slightly changed in 12-17. So for Camille, you're getting 2 straight buffs. So not only is your percentage HP shield from your passive going up 3%, also your hook shot is going to scale more off your bonus attack damage. So from your items, from your runes, this is really nice, because it just adds to your insane scaling. Camille at the moment as well is still doing very well with the new Divine Sundra. The Mythic Spike is just too good, and because she pretty much outscales every top laner, this just adds fuel to that fire. Now as for Renekton, yes, the champion is getting nerfed, but to be honest, these actually just look like adjustments and mid to late game buffs. So your base damage for your Q, the empowered version, and just the standard version, yes, this is going down. But the point here is that the bonus attack damage ratio in your Q is going up by 20% for both the empowered and the standard version. So for Renekton, the early laning phase still is going to be strong, but this just adds to the mid to late game and lets you scale even better. That's what Riot have really tried to do recently with Renekton in terms of the changes they've given him, and that's why he's so prolific at the moment in pro play. The champion does very well even into his hard counter matchups because he's just OP, and these changes giving him a better mid to late game are going to make him even scarier. Now as far as the underrated champions go, you can see that Graves is here. The reason Graves is here is because he's getting buffed in 12-17, so your ultimate damage is up 25 at level 6, 11, and 16, and your Q's cooldown, even though it will be a little bit higher on the first couple of levels, it is going down to 7 seconds at level 9 or rank 5, and you will be maxing this first, of course, in the top lane. And Graves is such a great top laner to have in your champion pool because there aren't really many hard counters to him. You can happily blind pick him knowing you're not going to get completely dumpstered. So Graves, if he stays like this, I think we're going to see him an awful lot in the next couple of patches, and maybe even at Worlds if these changes do go through. Now as far as the other top lane champions, we have Set, who's in low-key broken because Set is getting buffed just like Graves and Camille, so your W's AD ratio is going up to 25% based on each 100 bonus attack damage you have. So the more AD you get, especially in the mid to late game, your W is going to do more damage. Also, your E slow is going from 50% to 70%. That is a hefty increase, and it means that those enemy champions, when they come out of your facebreaker, well, they're just not going to be able to kite away from you as much, so it's going to make Set even more deadly in the 12-17 top lane. And the other champion worth mentioning here, guys, is Maokai, who's getting changed a lot. But really the main change to worry about for top lane, which is why Maokai is in B tier, I can't really anticipate too much how good or bad Maokai is going to be, but because of the HP scaling in your passive, so the more HP you have from your items, the more you're going to heal. This means for Maokai, when you're building stuff like Fire Aegis or Chemtank or Frostfire in particular, which remember is giving you more HP for each legendary item you have, this is going to be really nice for Maokai, but I don't really think it's going to make him super broken. So he's in B tier. Just be careful, guys, if you are playing the top lane, don't play Rise. So that was the top lane tier list. Now let's head to the jungle and talk about the most broken junglers, these being Belveth, Diana, Fiddlesticks, and Master Yi. I sound like a broken record because for the umpteenth patch in a row, these 4 champions are going to be the cream of the crop, best of the best, the bee's knees, whatever you want to call it, just the most OP champs. Ever since Belveth and Yi got the extra attack range, ever since Diana's been able to abuse Sunfire Aegis and Nash's too, Fiddlesticks since the Crowstorm buffs and his Q duration, they've been too good, and I still can't believe that Sunfire Aegis with Nash's for Diana is not getting targeted in 12-17. That's also the case for other champions, like if you're playing maybe Yasuo or Yone, or maybe even Renekton. I've seen it built on where you go Bork and then Sunfire Aegis, so all of those really obnoxious builds are still going to be in the game. Now because of the Graves buffs, we can see that he's now in S tier, and alongside Graves plays, we can see Hecarim here. And because Hecarim is now going to get some buffs for his attack damage version, so no longer is he going to be like kind of a drain tanky type champion with chem tank and a lot of HP. He's most likely now going to actually build some damage, and the buffs do look really good for him. Maybe he'll be a little bit too OP, so we will have to wait and see. And of course, for the rest of S tier, we have your typical junglers who perform very well in a solo queue environment. And in the underrated tier, we have Jarvan, and then we have Zed. Now, both of these champions are actually not getting nerfed or buffed in 12-17. The reason I've put Jarvan here is because he should be played a heck of a lot more. The buffs that came in a couple of patches ago, even though they didn't really do anything to your W, it's still like the most useless basic ability in the game. The champion is just performing statistically well, and because of that should definitely be picked more, and that's kind of the case for Zed as well. I know most people will be playing Zed in the mid lane, and that's certainly a wise option. You'll see our mid lane tier list very soon, but in the jungle, because the E energy buff, and I guess the W buff kind of helped in a way, but yes, the E energy buff means that Zed can clear a heck of a lot quicker, and in higher reloads, where people actually really know how to jungle and clear efficiently on these champions, he has over a 51-52% win rate. So really flying under the radar in the jungle as well. Good flex pick. And as for the rest of the junglers, guys, who got changed in 12-17, well, first up, we have Nocturne, who's getting buffed. So your attack speed ratio is going up from just over 0.66 to 0.72. This is actually quite a hefty increase. And then your passives cooldown, where you slice everything around you, this is going down to 13 seconds. Now, this actually really helps laning Nocturne as well. And I didn't actually include him in the mid or top lane, but you can definitely consider it. So do and be, if you're watching this video, keep picking it. But in the jungle, this of course will help with your clear speed and help you get to level 6 quicker. I still don't think Nocturne in this meta is really that amazing because fights are more drawn out, and Nocturne being playable still doesn't really sound that great, but these are certainly some nice buffs. Now, as far as champions getting nerfed, well, first of all, we have Wukong. And I can't remember the last time I did not see Wukong picked in a pro game because he's picked or banned all the time. So what's happening for Wukong, your base attack speed is going down, and your base movement speed is also going down as well. This is why Wukong has actually dropped from S tier all the way down to B tier, because I think these nerfs are actually quite significant. Your early dueling, your conqueror stacking, because of the less attack speed and because of the base movement speed going down, you're going to get outpaced by other junglers now, and the base movement speed means less kills, less ability just to make plays. And the other jungler getting nerfed, but funnily enough for Trundle, you're staying in S tier. That's because your W's cooldown, even though the cooldown is increasing by 3 seconds at each rank, which does sound kind of severe, it's not really the reason why Trundle is so good. The champion is just so good at the moment, whether you're running Press the Attack or Lethal Tempo, the Divine Sunder Spike, because lots of champions have HP in the game at the moment. Like think about top lane, for example, where Ornn is picked a lot, Sejuani, your ultimate is unreal against them. And because Trundle is such a versatile champion, such an aggressive jungler, in solo queue, the troll will still be an excellent pick. So those were the junglers, just again, remember not to pick Ryze. Now, as far as the mid lane goes, guys, this is the only role in the game where we only have 2 most broken champions, and these will continue to be Vex and Zed, because I don't think any champion in the mid lane is getting buffed enough to actually be as broken as these two, and a couple of champions who were good at getting nerfed. So one of these champions is Sylas. So your base HP is going down by 20, that's what I've heard, so from 595 to 575, and also your Q's cooldown is going up by a second at each rank. This is important for Sylas, especially the base HP. Makes your early game, your laning phase, weaker, more exploitable, and because of the sustain nerfs from 12-14, these just exacerbate that early laning phase problem where you might just be on the receiving end of a bunch of poke and you just have to cop it, so that's going to be even worse. That's why Sylas is S tier and not broken. Now, as far as other mid laners go, we have Twisted Fate, who's getting buffed, so your Q's AP ratio, this is going up by 10%, and your W's mana is going down, not only at rank 1, but also way more at rank 5. So from 10 to 30, that's the mana buff. This is really important for Twisted Fate, especially the Q AP ratio, because your Q's AP ratio, well, your Q is your wave clear. It's your damage when you stun someone, when a teammate knocks someone up or stuns them, you can use your Q, and you'll pick a card going down in terms of mana. It does actually add up. It means you can use more red card. It means if you don't have blue buff from your jungler, or if you don't have an early lost chapter, you can actually play the game by just rushing boots and doing that. So you're going to have more of the blue stuff, you're going to be more of a threat on the map because you're wave clear now. Hopefully you can get that priority and move around the map, and maybe because Twisted Fate is favored by a lot of pro players, we might even see him at Worlds if these changes go through. Now, other champions, we have Kassadin, who's also getting buffed, so your Q's cooldown is going down by a second. This is really nice for Kassadin because your Q, not only is it, well, kind of a big form of damage, but it's also your shield. So this going down cooldown is really huge, and also your Q's mana is going down by 10 at each rank as well. So exactly the same for Twisted Fate, right? Having to use less mana to use an ability means you're going to have more of it for those important situations, for those team fights, to actually maybe CS on Kassadin, because sometimes you're going to be zoned off the CS, so you have to use your Q for it. These are just really nice buffs, but I still don't think Kassadin will be that amazing, to be honest, which is why he's going to remain in A tier, but definitely nice buffs. Now, like I mentioned, for the top lane and jungle role, we have Graves, who's an underrated, because in the mid lane, these changes, R damage going up, Q cooldown at rank 5, so level 9 going down, it means your priority, it means your pressure, especially against a champion like Kassadin, for example, you will dumpster them. And because Graves does so well against lots of melee champions, it's going to be very oppressive and really underrated just because people will think you're playing him in a different role. Now, apart from this, what other mid laners do we have who are getting nerfed? Well, first of all, we have Ahri. So your base HP is going down by 20, a bit like Silas, and your E's duration, so the charm, is going down from rank 1. At rank 5 is still 2 seconds, so this means that when you land your charm in the early game, you're not going to be able to capitalize on that charm, and that goes for your teammates as well, who are ganking for you, so this might mean less kills, and your base HP going down means you're going to be more exploitable. This is why Ahri is dropping from S tier to A tier. Now, on top of this, we also have Azir is getting nerfed, so Ahri and Azir are two big meta mid laners at the moment, and for Azir, your W's AP ratio is going down by 10% to 50% now. So it used to be 60%, and to be honest, this probably means that your auto attacks will do more damage than your sand soldiers during the early laning phase, which really sucks, to be honest. I don't know why Riot nerfed this, and they also decided to nerf your E's cooldown by 3 seconds in the early game, and then at rank 5, so 5 points in your E, to a 1 second increase. This means that you're going to have your shield, your escape, less often. These are just really annoying nerfs for a champion who isn't really exploited that much in solo queue. Like, he's not the most popular champion, it's just because of pro play. So hopefully all you pigeon mains out there, you aren't affected too much by this. And just for the mid lane generally, guys, and maybe even the game as well, we should mention here that Seeker's Arm Guard is getting buffed, so the AP is going up by 10 to 30, still remaining 1100 gold. But for Zhonya's Hourglass overall, the other items that comprise the item, so Stopwatch, this is going up by 100 gold, so from 650 to 750. This also means that if you're buying Stopwatch, right, just to have one in your inventory, you have to spend a bit more bank to get that item. And also for Zhonya's, because Seeker's Arm Guard's AP is going up, Zhonya's AP is going up by 15, and the ability haste is going from 10 to 15, so a 5 increase. This means the cost for Zhonya's is up to 3,000, so a 400 gold increase. So this is a significant change to the item. So will this make the item broken and mage mid lane is actually using it? Maybe. We'll have to wait and see. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And I guess the attack damage counterpart of Zhonya's Guardian's Angel, this is also getting changed, guys. So in terms of the cost, it's going up to 3,000 gold, and the attack damage you're getting is going up 5. So both of these survivability items for attack damage and ability power champions, once again, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. Now, of course, the last two roles we have to talk about are the bot lane roles. So let's start by talking about the best AD carries or worst AD carries in 12-17. So the three best AD carries are going to be Draven, Sivir, and Twitch. And even though Sivir is getting nerfed in 12-17, so your AD growth going from 3 to 2.8, so each time you level up, you're getting less attack damage. This affects your scaling, of course, and also your W's AD ratio. Well, based off your total attack damage, it's scaling less of it by 5% at each rank. So this means that for Sivir, your mid to late game, which is so valuable at the moment and honestly just outright OP, is going to be less OP in 12-17, but the champion is performing way too good and these nerfs aren't big enough to bring her off that top pedestal. She will still be picked a heck of a lot, so continue to watch out for Sivir in 12-17. Now Draven with Eclipse and Twitch with Kraken Slayer and those supports who are really enjoying the meta at the moment, like Yuumi, like Lulu, these two champions are just too good and have to be alongside Sivir. And as far as the other champions just like Sivir who are getting changed in the bot lane, guys, as far as the AD carries go, well, there's only two of them. So for Ezreal, the first one, your E, your Arcane Shift's cooldown is going down by 2 seconds at each rank. This means you'll have a bit more survivability in the game, so during the early laning phase, and also in the late game, because you'll have so much ability haste, this will make Ezreal a much better late game champion. But he's still going to remain in C tier, because for champions like Draven, Sivir, Twitch, they just outscale him. They get free lanes because Ezreal really isn't the scariest champion to play against in lane, so to be honest, I think he needs a few more buffs if he's going to get out of the C tier. And we also have Misfortune, guys, the last AD carry getting changed, who's coping some big changes in 12-17, but the main theme here you need to think about is that she's getting more attack damage to try to encourage you guys to max your Q first, not your E. So this means if you're going Gale Force or Kraken Slayer Misfortune with maybe something like PD, I don't know, Infinity Edge, all of those crit attack speed based items, the balance team are trying to induce you guys to max your Q first and no longer the make it rain kind of obnoxious playstyle where you just use your E with Scorch, with Comet. It's not really an attack damage carry setup, right? It's more of like a mage setup, so Riot is shifting the playstyle for misfortune, and this probably means as well that if you were going lethality before 12-17, no longer going to be the case, and it's just going to be worse off. And if there are any misfortune mains or any mains who are watching this video of the champions we've mentioned, I'd love to know what you guys have to think. Just make sure you don't play Ryze as an AD carry. Now moving guys to the last role of this tier list, and if you do want these videos to continue, remember to leave a like down below. We have the support role, and in the most broken champions tier, we have Janna, Lulu, Renata, and Zyra. Is anyone going to argue with this? I don't think so. These champions statistically are killing it in solo queue. With 52-53% win rates in pretty much every single elo, I cannot not put them as the 4 most broken. Now just below them, if you want to play champions who are picked and banned, maybe a little bit less, we have Amumu, Blitzcrank, Lux, Pyke, Xerath, and Yuumi. Yuumi as well because of the changes that came in midway through 12-16, so buffing her Q and her ultimates cooldown. These have just meant the champion is really good. She's picked and banned a lot as well in pro play at the moment, and if we think about those good AD carries like Sivir, we have Zeri in pro play who's picked an awful lot, and even Twitch, she pairs very nicely with them. Now in underrated, we have Senna, and the reason Senna is here is because she counters a lot of these champions. If you look at Janna, if you look at Lulu, if you look at Renata, if you look at Yuumi, Senna does incredibly well into them, because what those champions don't have, well maybe as much as Senna, is not only poke, but also healing. So Senna, because she scales so well as well, gets to scale for free. It's obviously good if you can have something like a Tahm Kench or a Sion or a Swain next to you in the bot lane, rather than a typical AD carry, but I just think she's super underrated. As far as the supports who are actually getting changed in 12-17, guys, first of all, we have Rel, so your W's dismount movement speed is going up by 30. That's a big increase, and also your E's cooldown is going to a flat 15 seconds, so this means you don't actually have to put really any points in your E, because the cooldown will be 3 seconds lower when you just have 1 point in it. This is nice, but I don't think it's going to make Rel super broken, just because she's still going to get outdone by the champions above her in this tier list, so she will remain in A tier. Now apart from Rel, we have a couple of other champions getting changed. So we have Nami, the electrocute version with Lucian. So now your E is only going to count as 1 damage instance. This pretty much means that if you're going Nami because you have a Lucian on your team, well, it's just going to be nowhere near as scary. And to be honest, the only reason you're picking Nami is for the Lucian synergy. This is why she's dropping all the way down to C tier. I think with any other AD carry, the champion is pretty much useless. And I'm going to forecast here that Nami will probably receive some buffs after copying it a little bit in 12-17 because of this nerf. Now the other support getting changed, this is Taric. So your base magic resist is going down by 4, and your E's cooldown, so your dazzle, your stun, the cooldown is increasing by a second at each rank, which is important. This is your biggest ability, and because of the extra stun duration I gave your E a few patches ago, this means that Taric, well, the ability, it's really the make or break, and Taric has been performing extremely well because of those recent buffs. He's an excellent peeling support as well for those hyper carry scaling AD carries, so this will definitely impact him. I probably would have put him in S tier. These nerfs mean he's dropping down to A tier. The base magic resist nerf as well. I know bot lane is mostly attack damage based. It might mean against poke support you're going to cop it a little bit more, which will certainly be the case, but he will still be good. Again, just make sure you're not playing Ryze as a support, or just generally for that matter. So those are the tier lists, guys, for 12-17. Thank you so much for watching the video. Remember to hit that subscribe button down below so you don't miss our next season 12 upload. And until our next season 12 upload, this has been a